Recording in progress.
I can stand in this corner with you.
I'm gonna blame everybody. I'm gonna blame you, I'm gonna blame Ben, I'm gonna blame Regan. We were supposed to start a minute ago. Welcome to 1 million cups. So 5 years, there's so many new faces. I know your face.
You know my face.
It looks like a lot of people I know. So welcome. Thank you for showing up. And thank you to our coffee sponsor, Mr. Mike Bennett here. Give a wave, tell him Ben, if I point to the screen like Vanna White, will it magically appear?
There, maybe like look at the right side of the screen. There you go.
Yes, thank you to Go Positive Biz, which is Mike for sponsoring our coffee. So if you got some coffee this morning, you can thank Mike. And if you are looking to get your company funded, Mike can help you with the numbers. Also, thank you to Isolation Coffee. That's Dane there. He roasts and brews locally our coffee and brings it for us to drink. So Mike, Dane have a thing going to make the coffee happen. And then thank you to CSU and the Institute for Entrepreneurship for hosting us here week after week, so that we don't have to sit out in the snow and try to figure out how to do Zoom in a park. So I'm Leandra Foster, host of 1 Million Cups, and let's do some introductions since there's so many new faces. Who'd like to introduce themselves? Who are you and what do you do?
I'll go first. Dave Taylor from Boulder, and I run Longmont Open Coffee. I work with Eat Raw and have hosted or co-hosted New Tech Longmont and everything. And my daughter happens to go to CSU, and we have lunch plans. So I came up here, not realizing it was still winter.
It wasn't.
Enjoy.
It wasn't. Very nice.
I'm Diana Rogers Jager. My business is Love to Appreciate Consulting, and I specialize in helping organizations increase their employee engagement and retention. And I'm here in Fort Collins, but fairly new, been here over a year.
I can go. I'm Ed Goodman. I'm the founder of Spiral Experiences and the Mindshare Network. We're creative strategy consultants and reinvention experts, I guess, and we work with clients around the world and taking them on a big leap from where they are to where they actually dream of going. That's what we do. First time here, thanks to Mike Bennett.
Yes. We have a lot of first time here people. Okay, so will a regular introduce themselves? Actually, we don't.
You're looking at me.
You.
I'm Bill Dietrich. I run the local SAGE group. So SAGE is about connecting advisors and mentors to early stage startups. And this is one of the places I look for early stage startups.
Cool. Ben, did you want to introduce yourself?
I was gonna volunteer.
I know, you raised your hands.
I'm Ben Barrett. I'm one of the organizers here for 1 Million Cup NOCO. I've been an organizer for various chapters of 1 Million Cups for 6+ years now, and I love the community and all around. I've been in Boulder, I've been in here, and I've been out in Salt Lake too. So if you're in any kind of metropolitan area, chances are there's 1 million cups there. They're great groups of people, always neat people doing interesting things. So check them out. Thank you for being here with us this morning.
Raise your hand if Peter Foster brought you.
Where are they?
No, maybe you guys should come.
They're probably at RBC's.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Capital conference.
Yesterday's today.
So, thanks for coming in. Yeah, they were telling you that you should come, but you do, they don't actually.
Really?
What's happening in the community that we need to know about?
So it's on the screen, but we are looking for coffee sponsors. Thanks to Mike for being our coffee sponsor for Q1. We are looking for new coffee sponsors for the balance of the year. So if you would like to be one, if you know anybody that would like to be one, please put them in touch with one of the organizers here, specifically Dane's, I think would be our best point of contact. So yeah.
Just let us know what kind of money we're talking about.
Around
300, depending on how much you guys drink.
For the quarter?
For the quarter.
Cool, just so we can
Yeah,
say that too.
context thing for a meeting.
300 bucks a piece.
Appreciate it.
Gotta have Baileys in it.
Yeah, really. Ooh.
The other thing I have on there is the Venture Round Business Showcase. I've been to a couple of these. It's obviously still a little bit ways out, but if you want to throw it on your calendar now, it's primarily him or anybody from CSU. I think it's at least 50% of the founding team has to be from a CSU student.
Right.
And then they do a big expose and go through pitches and everything. It's a great event. It's a great way to support the entrepreneurship institute here at CSU and the students that are part of it.
They have to be CSU students or CSU alumni.
Students.
50% have to be students.
Of the founding team, 50% of the founding team have to be.
Right. And our new president will be there, so if you attend, you'll get a chance to meet Amy.
That's just a pitch, like it's not specifically for CSU students. Anybody can go and support it, which is why it's.
Go and watch the pitches, yeah. Boulder Startup Week?
Yeah, so Boulder Startup Week has been, it's on their website as being the 15th to 19th of May. I haven't seen anything as far as a schedule or context as far as like what volunteer help, but it's out there and just in the sake of trying to support the community. Startup Week's around the Front Range. It's there. Check it out, see if there's any way you can get involved or keep it on your radar.
Deanna.
Next week on the 30th of March is the Talent Summit, the Regional Talent Summit that's being put on by the chambers. It is, I believe, free to go to or less than $20. I can't remember which one I paid for at this point. But it is an opportunity to get in front of a significant number of primary employers here in the metro area and really kind of have some chance to hobnob with some HR people and that kind of stuff, as well as potentially learn some things.
I have one more. I'll throw it up because he won't do it himself, but open coffee is happening every other week. So Longmont was this week. We were at Tinker Mill. Great conversation. You get a chance to see a place like Tinker Mill as well. And then Boulder is on the opposite week. So Tuesday mornings at 8 AM, Longmont and Boulder open coffee all the time.
What do I get open coffee like?
Tinker Mill is a maker space down in Longmont. Fantastic area for anybody that likes making things or interested in making, creating. And then open coffee is basically
It's an open conversation with entrepreneurs and we're sort of stuck in a rut of talking about AI and its implications.
banking is like.
But we did, but yesterday we did spend about half an hour talking about the implications of Silicon Valley Bank's collapse on the startup community. And it's it's a good mix of people at the beginning of their journeys and people sort of on the, I don't know if I'd say end of their journeys, but further along on their journeys. And it's super casual. Yeah, it's very casual. Boulder Open Coffee is actually online only still at this point, so you could join it just the convenience of your favorite room spot. And Longmont Open Coffee we do in person. Where Ben said we're at Tinker Mill, which is this amazing maker space that's worth checking out anyway. And you're all very much invited. So just look for us on Meetup.
All right, well, look at that, we're still a minute behind. Can't catch up. All right, we've got our first speaker, our very own, because you've been here 4 times. Going, Greg Soffe, Vantage Point Initiatives, and his fun fact is that he did backcountry search and rescue for 13 years. Most of it in California.
Half and half.
And half, some in California, some here in Colorado. So if you want some recent stories, I bet he's got it.
Couple good ones. And you want me to just share my screen?
Yeah, just grab a screen share. That you can pop up there.
5-minute warning. Which means you only have one left. Wait for this.
Alright, is that working? All right, well, thank you again. My name is Greg Soffe and my company is Vantage Point Initiatives. I do business strategy consulting and my focus is really in the area of change management. And the reason that I'm here today presenting is because in the past 1.5 years that I've been really out on my own doing this kind of work, I've realized that a lot of people don't really know or understand what change management is. So I've had to really change the way I talk about the work that I do and the significance it has to small to medium-sized business owners, because it's really kind of a corporate thing. It's more well-known in the corporate area than it is for smaller companies. And what I'm looking to do today, my big ask, if we can change the slides, is for feedback on kind of this new way that I'm talking about my business. What I'm looking for specifically is how I describe the work that I do, and in particular, how clear the value add and benefits are to prospective clients kind of in this target market that I'm looking for. I'm also really looking for feedback on relevance, how well relevance to that target market. The work that I do relates to the common business challenges that companies face. I've got a new infographic too that I really like to get some feedback on in the end. So, make sense, everybody? Great. Well, let's kind of get on with it. So, big ideas, right? As business owners, as entrepreneurs, we all have lots of big ideas. And they look like things like this, like you see on the screen here, right? All different shapes and sizes. In some cases, they're kind of for smaller localized components of your business, new goals, new ideas, efficiencies you might want to create. In other instances, they're big, like creating a new strategic plan that's going to guide your business for the next 3 to 5 years. But all of these things are really transitional changes that your business goes through, right? And the important thing to consider with this that most business owners don't realize is that how you implement big ideas in your company is equally important to what ideas you come up with for your business. And it's something that often gets overlooked. If you think about things like marketing and sales, right? Those are things that are well known to have best practices and specific strategies that can help your business perform better, right? They can help your business earn more revenue or achieve goals better. What people don't really realize is that how your business implements new ideas, how you change, also has best practices and strategies that can help you perform better. Think about it with your own experiences. How many good ideas actually stick, right? When you look at the volume of ideas, to the ones that you actually start working on, to the ones that come through to reality or fruition, right? It's a pretty small percentage. There's some data out there that suggests that as percentages as high as 70% of change efforts fail to meet their desired outcome, right? That's a pretty high number. If you think about it, it's almost 3 out of 4 big ideas are doomed to failure, okay? Why is that? Well, if you look at the top part of the graphic here, right, it's because businesses often follow a plan or process like this, where someone has an idea, right? They start planning, which is often very task-based, right? They assign those tasks and they say, go, right? The execution phase. And they get into it, time passes by, maybe 3 or 6 months down the road, and they start to hit different roadblocks, right? Things that kind of stall them, slow them down, maybe stop them altogether. And when you look at why these big ideas start to fail, right, you often find reasons kind of like these under the 70% number here. Things like poor communication, not having a clear and shared vision for what's being asked to be done, lack of buy-in from all the different stakeholders that are involved in the process, lack of skill sets, just don't have the skill sets to do what you thought you could do. And then my favorite is also just poor follow through, right? These are the ideas that just kind of start to fizzle out and people lose motivation to do them. Well, what I do with clients is I walk them through a higher performing process, okay? And I do this through kind of one-on-one coaching sessions. I do this through small group training facilitation. And I even walk alongside clients as they go through either an existing project or an upcoming project to kind of walk through this planning process. And it starts out the same with ideation, right? And coming up with the idea. But what I do that's kind of unique is I walk them through what I call a pre-flight check, okay? And a pre-flight check looks at 6 key components of your business. And these are different factors that can dramatically impact the success of your business's ability to achieve these new ideas, these big ideas you have. And the reason I call it a pre-flight check is because I like to use the analogy of a pilot walking onto a plane, okay? So imagine yourself as a pilot, you get on your plane, right? And in your hand, you have your flight plan, right? And that flight plan has your destination, it's your goal, okay? And it's got, threw me off with that. You have your goal. And it has essentially tasks that you need to complete to get there, right? Your altitude, speed, distance, all those types of things. But what does every pilot have to do before they take off?
Check.
They have to check their plane, right? They have to do a pre-flight check. They have to check the ability of their vehicle to actually get them where they want to go. And if something's wrong with their vehicle and they can't take off, how useful is that flight plan? Not very useful, right? So that's what the pre-flight plan does. It helps you check your current status, your current ability to actually launch into the plan for your original goals. And it gives you your true starting point, which then get incorporated into your plan. You work through task assignments, execution, and you'll still run into roadblocks, but through an evaluation process, you get to kind of figure out why those roadblocks are there. And then you kind of cycle back through the ideation process, because change is a cyclical process. It's not a singular event, right? Something really important to think about when you are trying to implement your new big ideas. So why is learning these types of strategies important? There's kind of two key things that I like to point out. Number one, it can help you increase your speed to goal. Okay, and what do I mean by that? What happens if you reach your goals faster? You can save time, money. You can save a whole lot of frustration because you're reducing the number of roadblocks that you're going to run into because you accounted for them ahead of time, right? And the frustration piece is a really big thing right now, I think, for employee satisfaction. But another thing, a new statistic that I just came across, is that there's a study put out by ProSci that shows that companies that put processes like these in place for implementing their ideas, for how they handle change, have been shown to be 6 times more likely to achieve the objectives that they set out to accomplish than their peers who don't have processes like this in place. So with that, that's what I do with Vantage Point Initiatives. I help companies understand and learn how to make their big ideas stick so that they can be more successful down the road. With that, thank you very much. Again, my computer.
Wait for it.
Wait for it. So I would love to
Who wants to get
hear
us
thoughts and
kicked off?
feedback. If it's okay, I might scoot back to this because I'd love to hear some feedback. Hi.
Nice presentation. Couple of things for you. Right is your filler word, and it's a
Okay.
problem for you. Because
It's
if,
gonna be
yeah, no, it's right. And when you say right, people come back, and if that is not their personal experience, everything you just said gets shut out. Because they don't think you're right, and now you have a problem.
Okay.
So pick a different word. We all have them, but pick a different word. That would be that.
Thank you.
Your pre-flight check analogy is good, but I don't know that it necessarily relates as well to small business owners. Because small business owners are frequently building the plane because they've already jumped off the cliff. So a pre-flight check doesn't make a lot of sense to that. So perhaps that analogy can be brought out a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger in that. But
Okay.
lived experience of business owners is very rarely that we're doing anything before we get started. It's we've
Right.
started something and now we're screwed.
Yeah.
So how do you have that conversation? You have a lovely graphic here. It's a little small for me to read back here. I had to peek over on Chris's screen, which is
Mhm.
fine. But you talk about change being a cyclical process, and you give me a linear graphic.
Okay. So this part wasn't clear enough.
It does not
Okay, that's great.
flow in
Make
that
it-
process
make it
for,
that.
right?
Okay.
So it's gotta be more in that scope of that. If you're gonna
Interesting,
use
okay.
that,
Yeah.
you really have to give me that visual so it comes home.
Got it.
And that way your words and your visuals and your actions all align, and then I have authenticity with you.
Got it.
That's where I'm seeing that piece. And then the slide you have after your infographic actually needs to come before.
Okay.
Because I don't want validation of your process after you
Right.
told me your process. I want it before, so I pay attention to your process,
Okay.
right? There are 4 different major brain types that you're looking at. analytical, which you've done great in providing truth and facts, but do that earlier in the presentation because those people check out first.
Okay.
You have connective, people who are interested in how this affects others. So where are you really getting a deep point about how this affects their team? Not just necessarily their business results, but their team. Your reflective listeners are really curious about how it's affecting them and their results. And then your conceptual ones are trying to figure out how does this fit into my bigger business process and how much disruption is it going to have?
Okay,
So those are the brain types that you're really fighting against as you're trying to put this together.
okay.
Okay, well, I guess we're done.
So, I don't entirely agree with.
Oh, imagine that. How about it?
But I want to say that I really like the idea of the pre-flight and that whole sort of metaphor. And I think you need to lean into it way more. I think this infographic should be like a plane and it's like on the runway or something, and just really make that the sort of key on your stories.
Okay.
And having said that, then I would also say that this infographic itself is ridiculously too small. I mean, simplify, and really streamline. And I guess that's my big thing is really lean into the sort of metaphor. And if indeed, as you go, you say things like, you might not be used to doing a pre-flight check at all, but imagine if you're, the airplane that you were about to get on, the pilot said, we've done that before. I have experience, right? And then in terms of the order of the two slides, if you switch the order, as Jenna so ingeniously suggested, then you also get to do some sales. For example, wouldn't you like to have a method that would give you 6x of likelihood of success when you implement new ideas in your company? Right? And then it's like, oh, I'm leaning forward. Tell me more. Okay. So,
On your graphic, a lot of people are visual, so I agree with the points to make it bigger, but I don't see success in your visual. Like, they're different, but the second one should visualize what success looks like and create an emotional component of like, well, I want that for sure. And right now it's like, oh, they're different, but one assumedly is better, but it doesn't, I don't feel like I see success in that model.
Okay. If this was broken up into two different slides, essentially this top part and bottom part, would that make it bigger and?
It would help. The other thing you can do is that you create, because they're very similar in what they are, your second one just adds more pieces to the top one. So your first graphic that you click to has just the top stuff. And then when you click again, the second graphic includes all of your other stuff around it.
Right, okay.
And that may make it a little easier.
Ben and Leanne.
Dang.
Ben first. Oh, I didn't see him first. Sorry, Dave, Ben, Leanne.
Yes. All right,
I volunteered.
so while you mentioned the cyclical element of change, while that's relevant, I would lean more heavily on this infographic and Diana's point about a end success point.
Okay.
Does the clients want to know that they're not just hiring you for perpetuity, but they have to accomplish a specific thing? And since you're working with small to medium businesses, talk about some examples that are relevant to them. You didn't have any examples. You had the analogy, but no examples. So I need to be able to hear the problem I'm having right now that you can help with.
Okay.
Also, to Jana's point, you've already jumped off the cliff. So instead of, hey, let's plan your change better, what if they're already in the midst of a change initiative? How do you get them back on track? Okay. So I think those would be probably more relevant to a small.
On that kind of first or second slide up top.
Yeah.
I feel bad saying it because you were very excited about it.
Okay.
I hate the infographic.
Okay.
Like it's information bombing on a slide, like it's just like, there's so much stuff on here that I can't get used to content of it, is my problem with it. I think you've had some good feedback on how you can improve it already, so I'm just gonna second that, and whether it's, lean into the metaphor or, separate it out, like, I think whatever it is, you need to do something.
Okay. Too much.
I have the benefit of knowing Greg, we've had, I think we had got together, had coffee, we ended up talking for like 3 hours or something, so. You're very polished, you're very put together, I think Donna's feedback on not using rights, obviously. No filler words are good, but if you're gonna have a filler word, her context is completely on point about losing people if they don't agree.
Okay.
That makes sense. And can you go to your ask slide really quick for me? I think it was like something. Specifically, you know, value add for prospective clients, and I think Dane kind of just hit on this point too, but like, I got a feeling from being someone who's worked in corporate environment that this is a presentation that you could give to corporate, like you're defining how your change management process is better than their change management process, whereas I didn't feel that as a small business owner or someone like that would understand the value prop of this, because they may never have done a change management process before at all. So again, finding like how is that relevant to them, being able to communicate that if that's truly your target company.
Can I ask what some of those examples might be that would be more relevant to put on that first slide?
Changing a payroll company is a relevant thing right now,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
That's a big, huge process to change.
Okay.
There are companies that are having to change their point of sale systems.
Mhm.
And they've got to redo SKUs, they've got to redo all of that. They're building an e-commerce platform. Those are all things that are happening in small businesses in droves right now.
Gotcha.
Bringing on a new HR platform, if you scale to the point where you need to actually have an HR, like transitioning from founders to a team, right? Bringing on a CTO or something like that, like highlight those pain. I talked to a couple dozen small businesses, and what was painful for you when you transitioned from X to Y. And I think that's identify those big points,
Mhm.
and then build your presentation around, hey, this is a really painful process. Let me help you do it better, or let me make you have a much higher chance of being successful at going through this, because every company has to do this process, right?
Got it.
No, I forgot because we changed directions. I was like, what was your comment? Because it had to do with that.
Examples,
Examples.
and then the cyclical, like.
Okay, so go back to, I'm giving you feedback on what you asked for, which was
Sure.
infographic. I was up front so I could actually read it. And since you mentioned having a graphic designer do this for you, if they can, like, if you can make this bigger so that people in the back can actually see it, I liked it because I could immediately pick out what was different. But if you could have it then shift into a circle, right? So it starts here and the next slide, it like morphs into a circle,
Right.
I think is great. The second piece, now I remember what it was. The second piece is Jan is probably right in that they've already like jumped off the cliff. So
Mhm.
tell me where you come in. Like, where is that place when we need to
You're
call
already in
you?
this chaotic
Right?
space.
Yeah, so I
How
come
do I help?
in,
That's a
yeah,
good-
I come
got it.
in when this is happening. Like, you've already started the change and here's
Got it.
what's happening, and I come in and rescue you.
Right.
Okay.
Rescue people.
Provide the parachute.
Yes.
Parachute. Okay, I like
Exactly.
it.
Brady, what you're saying?
30 seconds, cool. Just from a design element, I think like, so for somebody that owns a small business, I really related to the pre-flight check.
Okay.
A couple of things. One, if you can make me relate to somebody's story within this, right? So Dane talked about using relevant examples. People relate to people. So like just being able to talk about people that you've helped through this process and
Okay.
like giving the story of where they started, how they were struggling, some of the more emotional stuff. I do advertising, right? So everything's about appeal
Absolutely.
and connection, right? And honestly, make the visual, like it's kind of a lot of information here, and then you get into pre-flight check. Use that theme of flying as your visual components, right? Like you have a runway, there's the pre-flight, there's planes that crash, right? Like it's like
Okay.
you have a graphic designer doing it. There's a way to kind of simplify the information in a way that's still engaging for people. It's kind of funny, like you'll be like, oh.
Yeah, I get it, right?
After that, I think once you hook people a little bit more, having all the information in the way that you talk about it very well, you're really polished. Like I understand what you're saying. There's just a couple of those buy-in elements at the beginning, like hook me a little bit more, and make me relate to somebody else's story of like what it is that you're solving. That's all I got to say. That's fine.
And the last thing is you have to figure out how to say that in one sentence.
Right, 6 minutes, right? My 6 minutes.
6 minutes.
If
for
you
one
gave me an
sentence.
hour, I'd probably get hit on.
Which is why you have to figure out how to say it in one sentence when
More
somebody says,
concisely.
what do you do?
And
And
that's
you're
a
like,
hard
let me
thing.
give
I'll
you
be-
6
yeah.
minutes, give me 6 minutes and I'll tell you.
Yeah,
Okay, awesome.
absolutely.
Grab your second cup of coffee. and
Thank you,
get our-
everyone. I
Yeah,
appreciate it. Yeah.
we'll get our second presenter set up. And I'll yell at you and it's like,
Yeah, it's dangerous.
I know. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
2 weeks when, because I get up here. Yeah.
There it is. I like it. I like it.
There you go.
Oh.
First time?
Yeah. I'm glad to hear it. Yes, I mean, I do stuff. I like to think that I have like mastered how to spend my time doing stuff. Products, I always have stuff going on, but you know, not have a lot of money.
Fair enough.
It's always nice.
Yeah, my daughter is here, lives in the dorm, so she literally. is at the conference. She is in the merchandising firm. She wants to get into clothing design and stuff. And I actually was just sending her about this that Ventures Group's doing here, that she's never heard of. And it just struck me as silos of a university.
Right, yeah.
You know, she's not. Yeah. I mean, I want her to come to this, just so she can see that there are CSU students, still students who are building businesses. But she really has this pride to do that. But I think she's thinking, well, I graduate, then I.
Yeah.
You need to do that, and $5,000 that's for, you know, someone who's just starting. I mean, I think this is such an important part of it. Yeah. Hi, I'm Dave. Chris, pleasure to you.
Depends on how.
Yeah.
You know, things, right now I'm focused on brand design, but I'm partnered in a couple of. One of the organizers of this.
Yeah, I mean, with open coffee, it's like, I wish we had something like the Kaufman Foundation to give us money. We got nothing.
Yeah.
I pay out of myself.
When was it? Every other.
I can check that out.
Right now. Yeah, we're not. We're just doing, we're just doing it. Yeah, but you're always welcome. But you just don't buy your friends.
Whoa, holy moly.
I gave the warning shout that I was gonna withdraw and nobody listened. So, desperate times call for desperate measures. Okay, Jenny, I'm done.
Wow.
It's Regan, sorry. Regan's turn to talk and I called Greg the wrong name. So everybody's
Nobody gets my last name right.
so.
Ever.
We will now.
So, not so fun, not so just so.
That
Regan Esipinosa with the Visit Box and shit, super fun fact. I have to like pull teeth again. So when she was 21, she did her first fitness competition. She's not 21 anymore, but I won't tell you how old she is going, she says I've been invited to, but she's going to the World Fitness Competition this August. Super exciting. All right.
Okay, so for my presentation, I've done this 2 other times for the 1 million cups. And this time it's more focused towards the Shark Tank is doing their first audition, in-person audition. So I'm trying to focus on being able to get that ready and be able to present that to them next week. So my name is Regan Esipinosa. I am from Windsor, Colorado, and I am the creator and inventor of the Visit Box. Today, I want to ask for feedback for my presentation of what it may look like in front of investors, but also what it may look like in front of people that could relate to my product, whether business to business, death care industry, or direct to consumer through different grief groups. What is the visit box? So the visit box is just a box that holds items at memorial sites. It's a weatherproof box, not locked, and it just keeps things safer that are already there and just to keep them safer from the elements. So the easiest way for me also to say what the visit box is if you've ever seen Forrest Gump, and Forrest leaves a note from Little Forrest for his mom. And the thought is, what would happen if Little Forrest went back and he didn't see his note? And how I relate to this is because my father died November 2020 during COVID, and very suddenly. And my husband, Hector, and the kids decided that they needed to stay here in Colorado while I flew it to Indiana. So it was very small funeral because nobody could come. So I left a photo of my family at the burial site. The next day, it blew away in the nearby field and I found it. And so we went back. This is my daughter, Neva. And she left an item there, and we went back in July, and then we went back again in more like winter time. And a frame was kind of destroyed, and a note was not even there anymore. So this was my first visit box. It's right here if you guys want to look at it, but it's granite. And people can use it here. This was the one that was finished, and this is my dad's headstone, and that's the visit box there. And then people can use it during hospice if a person cannot talk to the person that is in hospice, they can leave notes. And then here, if these are not allowed in the cemetery or they don't want it there, it doesn't match with the headstone, they can have it at home. And also when people are cremated, they have those items next to the urn at home. Okay, so what's my next steps? So right now, burial offerings are always been a part of history. People have always left items, but the thing is that there's never been something that has kept those items a little bit safer. So this is a very good start. Challenges that I have right now is that it's made of granite. It's very expensive, and it can't go with more of the memorial gardens and things that are in cemeteries compared to just upright headstones. And so through that, my husband and I have done some research and talked to the death care industry, and we've come up with the vertical visit box that's also a vase. So you can see that these can hold flowers. This can open up at the top right here. And then also hold those items, and it's more, it can be accepted at memorial gardens and also be used on the side of a headstone. For me, my network and marketing lately has been in local newspapers. So it was in the Greeley Tribune. There was a new group of people that were hired at the Loveland Burial Park. And they did what they were supposed to. They came in, they read the manual, and they cleaned everything up. The problem is that that was not done for the past 20 years. And so people were very upset. So there was an article that for my invention in the Greeley Tribune to help people. And to help the cemeteries that they can still keep their grounds clean, but also people can have that way of grieving. I won the ICCFA, which is a cemetery foundation group. I won for most innovative product for the cemetery industry. And then my husband and I have been at booths at expos, so the death care industry knows us pretty well. Okay, and so moving on a little bit more, psychologists are saying that there's an additional phase of grief, and that is called finding meaning. And so sharing my story is I found meaning through the death of my dad, by creating the visit box, very therapeutic. And then also I went on to do Mourn and Move. And as you discussed, it was a competition that I did. After the death of my dad, I got really sad, depressed, and inactive. But 25 years ago, this was my dad and I at my first fitness competition, and he always loved fitness. Through multiple heart attacks, he always came back to fitness. And so I then did another one, and I shared my transformation story. I didn't have a lot of weight to lose, but I had a lot of emotional and mental weight to lose. And so I got invited and going in August for the world to share my story. So I also share in Mourn and Move different things that you can do as far as trauma. So I had a little bit of a trauma experience when I would go past this right here, defibrillator, into cycle bar. I had to go make sure that I went past that to go left into cycle bar and get fit. And it was a trigger because I sure wish that there was a defibrillator for my dad when he died. So that was the next thing that I've done. And so my ask, going back to Shark Tank, is for this, and we need $50,000 for a mold for this one. And I'm asking about $5,000 for marketing to help me with, that's not a very strong point that I have. So this is my ask, just feedback. What do you say? So thank you.
Go back to your ask slide.
Which slide?
The ask. Yep. All right, who would like to get us started? Ben.
Are you looking specifically for Shark Tank like feedback?
I know.
But kinder.
But Kevin Cleary loves death, right? Like, I think I've seen him on multiple episodes say he loves death. So you're right in his wheelhouse. But there's definitely things that you want to clean up in the presentation as far as you have, I think you have a lot of, I don't want to say fluff, but a lot of things that they're not going to find relevant to the conversation about your business. So if you can, like, go in there and like pare it down and really ask yourself, what are they looking for, right? Like, they're looking for to know what their return is on this investment that you're asking. How long are they going to expect to get money from it? And do you have a viable product that can scale? So I should have taken notes on the actual like sections, but they're go through and like if I had to say like tear out stuff in your presentation that isn't specifically answering those questions for you. I think you have a very interesting product. I think I said patent pending, but I question like how much IP is there around a box or a receptacle that can be like easily manufactured. So that's a question that you want to make sure that you have answers to. And then I think that from the last thing, like I think $50,000 probably isn't the right number. I think it's going to be too small depending on what you're looking to do and what they're looking for in response. So you need to understand not just what you need right now, you need to understand what you need for the next 18 to 24 months for runway to make your business viable.
I'm gonna let you lead right into Mike because I bet he's gonna say something.
So I liked your product the first time we saw you. I like this one even actually better for someone who's thinking of buying these kind of things, but what's this one made out of? I like the design. What's it going to be made out of? Because you said granite was a cost barrier.
Yes. So this one, when I came up with the 50,000, that was through a plastic manufacturer. So it would be plastic or very similar to like metal for a vase. You see those. But right now it's plastic from what the research for direct to consumer. A lot of people say, I want it, I can't afford it. And so I'm trying to do very most cost effective. Different regions of the US want different things. So when we talk to people like in Arizona, or they don't want plastic, but people that don't, then they don't want, people don't want bronze because there's certain areas that there's theft. So I'm going towards the plastic right now.
So Mike, you let me down a little bit. I totally thought. I totally thought that you were gonna say, think past, because all you asked is for the next step, and you need to be thinking about all of the next steps and then finding how much money you need today to get to where.
So you need a financial model, is what.
Yeah.
There it is.
That one's the tea out there.
Yeah, huh, totally, yeah.
I think I saw Dane's hand up.
Yeah, I'll keep it
earlier.
quick.
Yep.
So what is the visit box? You need to talk to one of the brilliant marketers here for a really punchy. What is the visit box? This, all right. As far as what to drop from this presentation, drop Forrest Gump, drop hospice, drop morning moon. I didn't see them tie back to that.
Okay.
Relevant to your story, but not to that.
Okay. Jana, Dave.
We're gonna go to our virtual audience too. We've got a
Oh,
couple
yes.
hands up.
Yep. Sorry. Rena did have her hand up. Okay. Rena, then Jana. All right.
Hey, good morning. First and foremost, good job. I know how nerve-wracking this can be for Shark Tank specifically. I really liked your message. You did have clarity, you had purpose, you had the emotional attachment, which is, you know, people are going to be buying this for the emotion aspect of this. So I like that. I did hear that there were a couple of spots that you could tweak in there, and I was a little disappointed to hear that the boxes were going to be like plastic instead of granite, like you had talked about early on, because I thought the granite would be great in the sense that it would match the headstone kind of thing. Everybody was just talking about the 50K being too small. I wanted to bring that up as well. And also remember that the deck, the pitch deck that you're doing right now, sorry, the minute or 2 minutes that you have to actually pitch them, they're going to be asking you a lot of questions. My sister was in there for over an hour and a half when we went through this process. So they are going to be asking about long-term, they are going to be asking you about the numbers. And you need to know hands down if you're doing this for the marketing aspect or to actually get an investor. Like, are you going in there with the intention of really wanting that $50,000, or is this something that you're doing for more exposure on your product and possibly getting a shark?
Yeah, it's the money, because I can't
I'm
like.
gonna let you keep it there.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
That's an internal question. So
Great.
we have very short time, so keep it short.
can you get with me after too, so I can give you a little
Yeah.
bit more insight of our experience?
Yes, absolutely.
Great.
Thank you.
I've already named the people that we have time for.
Okay, oh, sorry, I didn't see that.
A couple quick things then. You haven't provided a scope as to where this fits in the market. We're coming up on the largest group of Americans who are rapidly coming into the age when they're going to be dying. So this has so sorry, baby. But an understanding of how big the scope is and what does that market need to look like. And then leading earlier with the fact that this is not something that leaving stuff with headstones is not something that graveyards condone. So you have to create a solution for this. Otherwise, I'm just like, why am I not doing this on my own?
Okay, Dave faster, Bill short too.
Okay, super fast. I want a product pricing page. I would like to know how much is it if I want plastic? How much is it if I want granite? And then estimated sales. That's all I got.
Yeah, I think you really need to size the market. I've been to a lot of cemeteries in the last couple of years, and many of them don't allow things like this. You know, so you really need to do this, you know, total available market, you know, down to here's the addressable market, you know.
All right.
James said his hand up.
Gotta be on there or they will blow you off the stage.
All right, so I think get experts to help you tighten your message, to tighten your numbers so that you have everything tight when they ask you what you would say. Okay, so if you have more to tell her, she'll be here afterwards. So thank you so much for coming, guys. And Rena says, call me. She's got her.
We all can call her down.
Keep your computer open because it's in your chat. Oh. All right, so last thing to wrap us up Who has a win that they want to share? Bill does. Who needs help and who has a resource that we need to know about? Okay, go Bill.
Okay, so a couple of meetings ago, Danny O'Connor came to our meeting. How many men remember Danny?
Boxing.
So Danny's gonna open a boxing thing. So last Thursday, he went back into the ring and won his round. So type in Google Danny O'Connor, back in Boston, right? So we're meeting tomorrow to talk about where he's gonna take his business.
Hey,
So he's an EMT down in Denver. He's a professional boxer and he's doing a startup.
that
So
comes
that's a
out.
really aggressive Shark Tank.
And he's got 4 kids and he just had a new one about a month ago. So that's another win. So anyway.
That was like the fastest Rocky
Danny's
turnaround
coming
ever.
back here to pitch.
Good, good. All right, so who else has a win?
I've got a resource for everybody. So if you're not aware, your website has to be ADA compliant currently. That's the way that the law has now been written, and the amendment that was supposed to go in that was set up to give lawyers we're giving you a warning about your website, and you have 6 months to fix it, failed. So what is beginning to happen right now is that there are sketchy law firms out there preying on websites for companies that look like they might have some mid-sized money. And what they're doing is they're suing and then they're settling. And there is no way to get out of that currently because the legislation doesn't work. So if your website is not ADA compliant, get it that way quickly. The fastest way to do that is go to equalweb.com and they can put a plugin in your site that will do it for you, and it is free. But do it now because they're starting to sue companies up in Estes and they're winning.
Did you say equalweb.com?
Yep, equalweb.com.
Okay, because I thought that was just for businesses that had like 12 or more employees. I guess you did say medium size. I'm good.
Yep. But what they're doing is the same thing that was done in the early days of the ADA. They found someone who has a disability who is willing to have their name used on multiple lawsuits, and they're just filing them like crazy.
They suck.
Get it done. Yeah, patent trolls are the same thing.
Well, on that note, does anyone need help?
It's not a win.
It's a resource you need, though. Let me tell you, it's a resource you need.
We had our win, we had our resource. Who needs help?
James has his hand up.
James.
For resources, I came across a quick pitch format. It's called GGW Sharks, which stands for Go Global World Sharks, which is a terrible name. But I found it happens once a week. You can listen in and they give everybody 2 minutes, no visuals, and there's a lot to be learned. And I found that the people giving the feedback on the investor side have been very helpful. So it's a good place to try.
Ben.
I have another resource. It's called futuretools.io. I've been kind of like going down the rabbit hole of AI for the last few months, and it's a fantastic resource that kind of aggregates a lot of the information, news that's happening around AI and kind of gives it to you in a very digestible, accessible format. So futuretools.io if you're interested at all in the AI space. And for anyone that's not there, this week has been completely insane for AI. So lots of companies releasing a lot of things, including big names like NVIDIA, Adobe, and Google, Microsoft, everybody. So lots happening. I encourage you, even if you're not interested in space, at least get up to speed on what's happening.
Yeah.
Resource, if you are a coach of any kind, you can do the Positive Intelligence 6-week program free. I just finished that. It was awesome. It's an app-guided mental fitness program. So if you're a coach, you can do that for free. It's normally $1,000.
That's an app.
Yeah.
I do have a request for help. So my program, Double Your Profits in 30 Days, is starting April 18th. So if you know of any coaches who are stuck making the same amount of money and want to kind of ramp that up, you can refer them to me.
I request help. Eat some cheesecake. My wife made a delicious lemon cheesecake, but it's literally her and I. And I haven't been able to go to the gym for 3 weeks since I had COVID, so. Eat some cheesecake, please. God, I want to take it home. And drink the coffee.
And drink the coffee. You know, it's $300 a week. Who just said drink the coffee?
I've been too busy drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yes. Awesome. Anything else? Another win.
My husband came today, that's a win.
So I have a win. I've always talked about my little bitty grandchildren. My oldest granddaughter is going to graduate from the Coast Guard Academy in a couple of months, and she got her first assignment on a new cutter out of Boston.
Nice.
You always have something to celebrate, like new ones to old ones.
Last one for me. I'll say this is a win, just looking around the room. I'm pretty sure this is the biggest crowd that we've had here at I-40. So thank you everyone for coming out, and thank you to the people online. We love having your participation as well. So yeah, come back, invite friends. Like the more people that we have in the room, the more perspectives that we get and more value that we create for the community. So please come and share whenever you can.
Definitely. And it is nice if you invite somebody to actually be here when they all come. You know, if they're watching their. But yes, thank you all for coming. This is a great crowd. So, all right, so we will see you same place, same time next week.